Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Needs Podcast, the show where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. Today, I am joined by Miss Karen Holmes. Karen is a transgender advocate, author, TEDx speaker, and dedicated public servant whose life story is a testament to the power of authenticity, courage, and self-belief. From the age of 13 to 53, Karen has lived an internal battle navigating 4 decades of identity struggle before finally stepping into who she has always meant to be. Her memoir, 40 Years and Wandering No More, Loving My Life Being Transgender, chronicles this deeply personal journey from self-suppression to radical self-acceptance, offering readers a rare and honest window into a transgender experience. Today, Karen channels her story into action. She retired from the federal government after serving for 24 years, 24 and a half years as a trust and safety officer, and served with the Maryland Defense Force and the U.S. for 5 years, and now is serving with the U.S. Veteran Reserve Corps. Today, she's here. She's going to share a little bit more about her background, her memoir that she has come out with, and got just kind of share everything about her memoir and what kind of led up to it. So, Karen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm really looking forward to talking with you, and welcome to Southern Reads.
Thanks a lot, Noah, and thanks for having me on your show today. Um, where do I start? Anyway, happy 4th of July to you as well as to your uh, followers out here on this podcast for Southern Reads. So, hope you had a nice one.
Well, you've lived a very, very impactful life. You've gone through so many trials and tribulations, and you've always been able to really come out on top and share this. Um, Share with me a little bit about kind of what inspired you to want to share your story about being transgender, coming out as trans. What inspired you to write a whole memoir about your experience?
Well, I know back in 2010, October of 2010, it was me doing coming out basically and being involved in doing and wanting to live a life that I've always wanted to live for years. I mean, literally for 40 years, all I did was constantly pray to God, like, why do I keep dressing all the time? And it wasn't until I went to a conference in Philadelphia called the Philadelphia Trans Health Conference where I actually found out truly who I was deep down inside and seeing little kids 5, 6, and 7 years old enjoying having a good time and stuff and their parents were supporting them. And I just said, I gotta do this. And so after my transition, because I do so much volunteer work with like Red Cross CERT, which is Community Emergency Response Team, and also RSVP, which is Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, I just felt like, God placed it on my heart. I needed to do more for the transgender community. And so I started doing a lot more with the community as far as speaking engagements and so on. But I felt I really needed to go deeper. And that was writing a book. And I just always had ideas of how I wanted to do this, but I didn't have the roadmap to do it. And of course, one of my aunts, um, she just kept getting on my case. You need to write a book. You need to write a book. And so after last year, retiring from the federal government, that gave me a little bit of time. And I got involved with a coach, Natasha Tynes, who was my coach and now also my publisher. She just gave me a roadmap to doing a book. It was like, ways this way to go, that way to go, turn left here, turn right there. And she was that big inspiration that just gave me the push that I needed. The funny part about with Natasha, she just basically said, I want you to have this book done in 4 months, 40,000 words. And I'm like thinking in my head, is you crazy? Because that's a lot to do in 4 months. But actually, I did 41,000 words in 3.5 months. So I felt really good. And she was very proud of that, when the book was finished.
So during the writing portion of that, were there any difficult moments for you of writing it of like you felt uncomfortable sharing anything? Was there kind of any rough parts of your story where you had some difficulty trying to write out?
I didn't have any issues like that. Basically, it was just basically emotional things that came up, doing certain parts. Like in the book, my prologue starts off with the cliff, and that was, me as Tony at that time, basically coming across this windy road at nighttime, and I was really frustrated with deep down inside what was going on. And I went to the trunk of the car, pulled over the side of the road, and threw all of my clothes, Karen's clothes, off the cliff. And drove home. It got really emotional about that and thinking about what I did. But I felt like a relief to some point. But then a couple of months later, I was back to getting clothes again and stuff. And, basically, I guess you could say Karen inside of Tony was saying, I'm back, and stuff like that. The other big emotional part of the book is me telling my mom that I was transgender and, telling her my name was going to be. And something she had never told me before in my entire life, she said if she was having a girl, she said she was going to name it Karen. And I was always wondering why I couldn't get away from that name. And now I know because that was something that deep down inside I knew I was a Karen. And so, you know, it just blew me away. I was emotionally and, you know, into that day when she told me. I was in tears because I knew so many people said, "Why don't you make it easy for us? Go with Tony with an I or Antoinette," because I was Anthony was my real name back then, and I said, "No, there's something about Karen I need to stay with, and I don't know why, but I just do." And then also in the book, I talk about my military, status and what involvement and stuff like that with the Maryland Defense Force, which supports the Maryland National Guards. Receiving after my first year, I got NCO Soldier of the Year. And NCO, for those who don't know anything about it, is a non-commissioned officer. And I got that for the state of Maryland and the Maryland Defense Force. And then in 2013, by the State Guard Association of the United States, I got Soldier of the Year of the country. So basically, I'm like saying, I'm top dog. um, and those moments that I didn't expect to happen that quickly, especially with the Maryland Defense Force and the State Guard Association of the United States. I just didn't really think that was going to happen that year. I just, was gun ho to do what I did. But the interesting part in both awards that I received, a lot of the female soldiers were coming up to me and saying, "Great job, you're doing it for us." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am, but I'm also doing it for the transgender community," which I couldn't talk about at the time being. So a lot of those emotions came up. And then in one of my other chapters toward the end, I talk about my relationship. God has me here for a reason. And there are so many times when, with a previous job that I worked at, I used to work for an alarm company responding to alarms all over in the DMV, which is District, Maryland, and Virginia. Um, there were times when somebody either was in there with me when I went in to reset the alarm or working on the alarm, or um, they had just left. And so a lot of that came up because there are a few times I would be dead right now. I would not be alive. And I think about that a lot of times because the coworker that covered for me when I took off to be with my ex-wife, because her mother had passed away, was shot and killed, and he actually took my place that day. So those are issues that really struck hard to me, and I talk about this in the memoir book.
So, going with your writing process, did you write a lot of your book in kind of one setting? Did you take multiple years to write? How long did it take you to write your memoir?
It took me only 3.5 months before it was all finally done after the editor and stuff looked it over and checked it out and stuff like that. I started it probably like back in September of 2025 and finished it in like November, December time frame. of 2025. And then, of course, by the time it goes to the editor and everything, it was April 13th of 2026. I wrote all of it myself. The interesting part, my coach, Natasha Tyne, she basically, while reading each chapter that I was working on, said, "What about this? What about that?" So it just expanded that portion of the questions that she had as my coach. And so that's what I did.
Now, when it comes to publishing, did you want to publish through kind of a traditional publisher, or did you want to become a self-publisher, or how did you go about the publishing process?
Well, luckily, my coach happened to also be a publisher. So we went through that route with her. She set me all up, and we actually got it on Amazon right now. You can find me under Karen Homes, or you can find it under 40 Years and Wandering No More, Loving Life Being Transgender. And basically, I think all you have to do is type in 40 Years and Wandering No More. But they're on Amazon. And so, yeah, so for me, basically, as a first time writer and author, I just said, Natasha, you're my coach, you're my publisher now. You know, I want you to lead and guide me. And she basically did that. And she took uh, me under her wings, just saying, basically, this is my baby. And I was like, wow, for her to take that kind of interest to say that, I knew I was in really good hands. And it's been the same way now. Contact with my PR person that contacted you and other podcast interviewers, and also my promoter. So yeah, it's been really great.
What's been the overall reception that you've received so far about your memoir?
Oh wow, it's been really, really fantastic. Not only with the transgender community, but also with the cisgender community, which is when I wrote the book, I had the intention of one, helping the transgender community navigate or do whatever they want, through my eyes of writing my memoir. And on the flip side, I wanted to help the cisgender community understand who the transgender community and non-binary people are. We're not what you see on Jerry Springer show. I mean, literally, we have military people, we have police, fire, judges, lawyers, doctors, nurses. The gamma just keeps on going. And we're doing great things out there. And that's what the cisgender community really needed to see and understand, which the book has done. I've gotten so many comments back from cisgender people saying that they like this, they didn't know about this, they understand this now. And in one particular instance, I've got people that have actually come out that didn't even really understand who they were. And then I've had people who was one particular gentleman who read my book. I'd been keeping in touch with that person for years, helping him understand me as a transgender person. And they were married to a cisgender woman for 20 plus years. And a couple of years ago, they got divorced. Now he's dating a transgender person. So, not that I wanted my book to do that, to, change people's mind or things. I just wanted them to understand who we were. And it helped this person navigate to date a transgender person. And I don't know the relationship with them right now. I do know um, it's going pretty good with them right now. So, yeah, A+ for my accomplishment on, at least helping the cisgender community understand who they are.
Have you heard any personal stories from people that have read the book, that have come out and they've said really like, it's helped them with their transition as well? Or what have been some personal stories that you've heard so far?
uh there was one who came out that I didn't even realize until they, know, have seen the stories and understand the book and stuff, and said that, they thought that they were non-binary. That's the word I got at first from them. And then, of course, they said that they like dressing in women's clothes and stuff. So that has been one instance. I've had other transgender people say, "You've actually saved my life." you know, talking about, my experience and how I did coming out right now. So it's been good that way as well.
What is the overall message that you want people to get from when they read your story and they hear your journey? What's the overall message that you hope people take away from?
It's not so much that I really want them to understand it was a journey. It wasn't a struggling journey. It was a journey that really I've been blessed. Literally have been blessed through my journey, and I'm hoping through all the avenues that I went through, I'm hoping that it'll help somebody out there that's transgender or thinking about it to be them true selves. Dreams are made to be lived, so live them. Go confidently in the direction of your dream. You know, um, if you really care about something and you want to accomplish whatever you're feeling, go for it. And that's what I'm trying to build. I know when I first transitioned, and this was before I had a platform, and I was honored in a magazine called the Platform Magazine. It's an international magazine all over the world, and I was among 31 other women from around the world for up and coming inspiring females with a platform, and I was the only transgender woman in that magazine. And I'm like, wow, I'm among this many women from around the world, but it's because of my platform. So when I talk to other transgender people out there, I try to give them this build up to say, hey, look, if you're seriously thinking about transitioning, build yourself a platform so when you tell people that you're transgender, they won't care. I know when I told Red Cross and CERT and RSVP that I had something to tell them, they gave me this really strange look like, well, what are you going to tell me? And I told them I was transgender, and each and every one of them went, whew, I thought you were going to leave the organization. To me, that was powerful to see that they really valued what I was bringing to their organization, and they didn't care about me being transgender. And when I kept thinking about each person that I talked to in those organizations, and they gave me the same response and answer. I'm like, did you talk to so and so? Trying to figure it. And none of them knew each other. All I know is they valued what I was bringing to their organization. And I felt really proud about that because that at least knows that we have a mission out there. And when I say build yourself a platform, that's what's going to make the difference for somebody accepting you for who you are.
If you had not come out with the memoir or had a chance to write your story, do you think that your story would have ever gotten to where people worldwide could hear it possibly?
I mean, I've got a lot of followers on Facebook and stuff, and a lot of people have seen my journey since October 1st of 2010, and they have valued what I've gone through so far. I did a TED Talk as well back in 2018. People have seen that, but I really felt like the book really made the difference. The memoir is just basically deep down inside of who I am. And I think, from people reading that, um, they're going to see the true light. And that's what I wanted everybody to see.
Looking over your career so far, what are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. Um, that's a tough question, Noah. That is really a tough question. I can relate that down from, work to me being out there now, um, as a person that wants to lead by example, as well as taking leadership in who I am to help other people step out and do the same thing. But I think my really proudest things right now has been uh, two things. One, serving with the Maryland Defense Force, as well as right now with the United States Veterans Reserve Corps, and the promotions that I've gotten all the way up to now. I'm Chief Warrant Officer 3 with the United States Veterans Reserve Corps. And then the book. I think the memoir is something that it's been in my head and in my mind for, let's say, 15 years, because I'm coming up on my 16th year transition anniversary on October 1st. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. It keeps going. And I just basically want God to lead me down the path that He wants me to lead me down, and do what I need to do. And when He told me back in 2011, basically, I needed to do more for the transgender community. That's what I've been doing ever since. And I always look at it, if it wasn't meant to happen, roadblocks would have been set up along the way, and there hasn't been. It's been a smooth drive the whole way so far.
Do you think that you'll write any more books about your journey, or was this kind of like a one and done experience for you?
That's a great question, because when I told my aunt, who wanted me to just stayed on my case the entire time to write a book, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And I told her when I visited her at the hospital one day, and I said, guess what? The book is out, it's live, and stuff. And so she just basically said, um, now you can write a new one. And I'm like, wait, I need to breathe a little bit. I just finished writing this one. So, yes, I want to be able to write another one. I just have no idea the title of it. Maybe something like The Journey Continues and I'm Living Life, something like that. Cuz like when I try to tell everybody else, your journey might have started, but your journey will never end. It's going to keep on going. So, it was, I really need to breathe. Writing another one would be nice to do, but yeah, I need that time to decompress a little bit, because it did take a lot out of me. Even though I did it faster than my my coach publisher wanted me to do it in, it's still, to get it to the point where it is now, it takes a lot out of you. And I'm hoping that your followers will see it and understand it, and get a better feeling for who we are, especially when it comes to transgender people playing in sports, cisgender women's sports. That's been very, very high on the list from this administration. And so I would love to be able to talk more about that, because I think we definitely have a place, but it's a timing of when we should compete.
What is your advice to anyone, maybe they're listening and they've been through the same struggle that you have been through and that they've had trouble transitioning and coming out as transgender? How do you think your story will help those? And what advice do you have for anyone that's maybe going through the same thing that you've been through?
I think that your circle of friends is very, very important. I think, when it comes to leading, guiding you through certain things such as name change, which I had a really good friend, Alicia, uh, help me out on that from paperwork and stuff. And I wanted to do the same thing for other people. Um, I tell people, other transgender people that have been transitioned at least for 2 years, 3 years, and longer, you are the veteran of of this community. You can help other people lead and guide them in the direction they need to go, without stepping on their toes, because everybody's got their own, feeling and how they want to do things. But I think, if we help them, like the younger people, like understand, like, hey, don't go into areas that you shouldn't go into. Stay out of this area here, because it might be really, really dangerous for you. Listen to us. We've gone through it. We live this life 24/7. And I feel like I've made it this far for a reason. And there's others out there that's doing the same thing, but it's being careful out there, because this is a nasty world when it comes to the trans community. And so we really need to take hold of that. And then, like, on the other hand, people see transgender people doing sex work out there, and it's because they've got kicked out of their home, they've got kicked out of their job and stuff like this. They're working the street, because they need food on their table, they need a bed to lay their head down at night. if they're looking for another job, they need better clothes to wear. And so um, I tell a lot of people they're out there only because it's called survival sex. It's not because they want to just be out there doing this stuff. It's because they need those items and things to survive out there. And that's what, I hope to express out there even more so.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on the podcast today to share your story and to be a voice for so many people out there. Um, where can people go to learn more about your book, and where can they go to follow you to support you on your journey and just kind of promote everything where people can go to stay in contact and connect with you?
Sure. First of all, they can find my memoir book on Amazon. So all they got to do is put my name in, Karen Holmes, Holmes, and that is Karen with a K. It's so funny. And then now when I call people, they're like, "Is that with a K or a C?" And I'm like, "Huh?" you know. But yeah, Karen Holmes, or you can find it on Amazon. 40 Years and Wandering No More. They can contact me at KKHolmes, 1956 at gmail.com, or they can go to my personal website at kkhomes.com and drop me a line there as well. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. They can also find me on there as well, and contact me on those social medias as well. I'm primarily a lot of times on Facebook. I guess it's because it's a lot more easier for me. At my age, you need things to be easy, and I'm 70 years old in November. So yeah, there's a lot that I'm trying to navigate through and keep up with these young people.
And I will
You
put
asked
all
me
this
one
in.
more. I
Yeah,
think
go ahead.
you asked me one more question. I forgot which one it was. It was after how could they get in touch with me? What was it?
Where can people just go to get stay connected with you?
Yeah, through like I said, through those social media events and my personal website, and then of course here again on email they can get in touch with me, kkhomes at I'm sorry, kkhomes 1956 at gmail.com. My big thing right now is I want to help. If anybody's really struggling with any type of thing that they're going through, please contact me because I do not want to see on November 20th, um, for Transgender Day of Remembrance, their name pop up on the screen because they killed themselves or they were murdered because they were in a bad area. I want to make sure that they can contact me and get some help. If I can't do it, I will definitely lead and guide them into an area of somebody who can. I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist or anything. I'm just a friend and a friend who cares about other people out there.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today, to share your story and to really showcase your this what you've been through and everything. And to my listeners, I will put all of her links in the description box, her website, socials, all that will be down below. So just check the description box for those links. You can also follow the me on the socials. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Southern Reads. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcasts. And feel free to go to the website, noahspodcasts.com, to learn more about this show as well as the other podcasts that I do. There you'll find links to where all my socials are, where the podcast is available, and just some other things on there. So feel free to go check those out. Feel free to follow the podcast and subscribe to the show so you get notified of when new episodes like this come out in the future. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in to today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I will catch you in the next episode of Southern Reads.